All right, let's get right into it. This week, we're looking at a story that's just packed with high-stakes drama. We're calling it a Thanksgiving ultimatum. And believe me, it's about so much more than a holiday deadline. We're talking about some serious diplomatic arm twisting, some incredible defiance, and maybe even a huge shift in the global order happening right before our eyes. Wow. I mean, this quote right here, it just lays it all out. The White House basically threw down a gauntlet. Accept our peace plan by Thanksgiving, or you could lose us. Can you even imagine being in that spot? It's a choice between giving up what feels like your national soul or losing the one partner you absolutely cannot afford to lose. Just an impossible position for Ukraine. Hey everyone, welcome to the Global Warwatch Network. We're the place that tracks these critical global moments. And listen, if you want to stay on top of stories just like this one, do us a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out a ton. All right, so let's unpack what's really going on here. Okay, so the big question is, how on earth did we get to this point? An ultimatum? This wasn't just some friendly suggestion from the US. No, the pressure went from 0 to 100 real fast. Washington wasn't asking anymore, they were demanding an answer. And they put a date on it. According to reports, the Trump administration drew a line in the sand, November 27th. Yeah, that's right, Thanksgiving in America. The timing alone sends a pretty chilling message, doesn't it? It was a classic take-it-or-leave-it deal. Accept the plan we've brokered, or else. The or else was left hanging in the air. And when you see the actual terms, man, they are just staggering. This is so much more than just a ceasefire. We're talking about Ukraine having to cede a huge chunk of its eastern territory to Russia. Then they'd have to slash their own army, drastically. Promise to never join NATO, and get this, no Western peacekeepers on their soil. The only small concession was maybe some European warplanes being parked next door in Poland. I mean, for any country, these are just brutal, brutal demands. So you've got this immense pressure coming from your biggest ally. What do? Well, Kyiv's response was not what Washington expected. They didn't see this as a simple choice between war and peace. Oh no. They framed it as something way more fundamental, a choice between their national dignity and their partnership with America. And this really shows you the fundamental clash. Look at the U.S. demands on one side. Give up land, give up your army, give up your future alliances. And then on the other side, you see Ukraine's absolute red lines, what President Zelensky calls their sovereignty, their independence, their dignity. I mean, these two lists, they're just on different planets. There's no middle ground here. And President Zelensky himself, he put it in the most powerful way possible. He said, either the loss of our dignity or the risk of losing a key partner. And his answer? I will never betray it. He's talking about his oath to the Ukrainian people. Just incredibly powerful stuff. And you have to remember, while he's pushing back against the entire weight of the US, he's also got to hold things together at home. He basically turned to his own politicians and said, quit the squabbling, stop the political games, the state must function. He knew, that the absolute last thing they needed was to be fighting amongst themselves when the world was watching. But that brings up a really important question. Why now? Why is the US pushing so hard right at this moment? To get that, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger global chessboard. And the key is in this really critical intelligence report called the 2025 Worldwide Threat Assessment. So, for anyone who hasn't heard of this, the DIA Worldwide Threat Assessment is basically the Pentagon's annual State of the World report. It's where the Defense Intelligence Agency lays out in no uncertain terms what they see as the biggest threats to global security. It's the real deal, no sugarcoating. And this document, it's a huge driver for why Washington is acting with this kind of urgency. And what this report says about Russia is, well, it's pretty sobering. The bottom line is that Putin is dug in for the long haul. He's ready to keep this war going right through 2025. The battlefield is slowly, painfully, trending in Russia's favor. Sure, they're taking massive losses, but the assessment is that Moscow is totally fine with that cost as long as they're inching forward.
And when we talk about price, just look at this number. The DIA estimates over 700,000 Russian personnel casualties. Let that sink in for a second. 700,000. It's a number so big it's almost hard to comprehend the human tragedy behind it.
And it's not just people. The material losses are just as mind-boggling. Over 10,000 ground combat vehicles, including more than 3,000 tanks, gone. So the big question is, how in the world can Russia sustain this? How do they just keep going? Well, the answer is that they're not doing it alone.
This is where the DIA report gets really interesting. It points to something that's been bubbling under the surface for a while, a growing alliance of U.S. rivals. And this isn't some loose group of countries that just complain about America. No, this is a real, functional network that is actively changing the war in Ukraine and, honestly, the entire global power structure.
Now, this isn't a formal, signed-on-the-dotted-line alliance like NATO. Think of it more as a network of convenience. It's very, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So Russia gets desperately needed artillery shells and drones from North Korea and Iran. What do they get in return? Russia shares advanced space, nuclear, and missile technology with them. And then you have China sort of providing this big diplomatic umbrella, shielding Moscow from pressure at places like the UN.
And the scale of this cooperation is just wild. The DIA is reporting that North Korea hasn't just sent weapons, they've sent people. Over 12,000 North Korean troops are reportedly on the ground fighting for Russia and Ukraine. I mean, that's not just support anymore, that is direct, boots-on-the-ground intervention.
And the hardware keeps flowing too. We're talking millions of artillery rounds shipped from Pyongyang to Russia. That is literally what's feeding the Kremlin's war machine, allowing them to keep up those relentless barrages we see on the front lines.
Okay, so China might not be sending bullets, but the DIA report zooms out to show an even bigger long-term threat, Beijing's nuclear arsenal. It's now over 600 operational warheads, and they're on pace to have over 1,000 by 2030. You know, that one fact, all by itself, completely changes the global balance of power. So, let's connect the dots. This ultimatum to Ukraine, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's a symptom of something much, much bigger. We're seeing old alliances get shaky while new hostile ones are getting stronger. We might be watching the world map get redrawn in real time.
And the DIA report doesn't mince words. They warn, and I'm quoting here, "Our adversaries are deepening cooperation to circumvent U.S. instruments of power." And that's really the heart of the issue, isn't it? They're not just complaining anymore. They're actively building a parallel system designed to work around and against the United States and its partners.
Which brings us to the big, unsettling question we have to leave you with. When you see all of this, the pressure on Ukraine, this new alliance of rivals rising up, you just have to wonder, are we trying to force an end to one war, only to accidentally light the fuse for a much bigger one?
And that's where we're going to leave it for this explainer. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Global Warwatch Network.
Hey, if you got something out of this breakdown, do us a huge favor and hit that like button, and definitely subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We genuinely want to hear from you on this one. What do you think? Is this the end of one conflict or the beginning of something much bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. And you can always continue the conversation with us on social media. All the links for that are down in the description. Thanks again for being here.